Welcome to the Beyond Bloated Podcast. I'm Carly, a certified health coach helping women under 50 ditch their bloat without having to follow super strict and stressful protocols. As someone who's struggled with all sorts of digestive issues for over 5 years, I know exactly how you're feeling. I also know that there's a way to feel better, and it doesn't have to involve tons of expensive supplements and insanely restrictive diets. Join me as I share all of my bloat-busting wisdom to help you say goodbye to that bloated belly and regain your confidence. It's time for you to move beyond bloated. I have a question for you guys today. How many of you have been diagnosed with IBS, otherwise known as Irritable Bowel Syndrome? If that's you, send me a text using the link in the show notes labeled "Send me a text" and let me know. So often, us women with gut issues go looking for help and we're slapped with an IBS label. Once we're given this infamous IBS diagnosis, we're then told to just avoid food and keep a washroom within eyesight at all times. That's no way to live, and that is a ridiculous solution. I'm doing air quotes. IBS has no legit way to be diagnosed. There's no official test that you can take that says you have IBS without a doubt. There's no root cause that has been proven, and there's apparently no cure. So how many other conditions can you say the same for, where there's no way to test for it, nobody knows what causes it, and you can't do anything about it? If you ask me, it sounds like it's made up. I'll be diving deeper into this whole IBS is BS theory with today's special guest. Charlotte Stubbs is a holistic nutritionist and health coach specializing in gut health. Charlotte is the founder of Holistic Wellness with Charlotte, where she helps her clients uncover the root causes of their digestive issues rather than relying on Band-Aid fixes. Charlotte's approach is all about personalized care, understanding that IBS is not a final diagnosis, but often a sign that there's more to uncover beneath the surface. In this episode, Charlotte and I will share our insights on why IBS is often a "we don't know what's wrong with you" label, and how to dig deeper to find lasting solutions. Whether you've been diagnosed with IBS or are experiencing chronic gut issues that no one has been able to explain or help you with, this conversation is packed with valuable information to help you on your gut health journey. So without further ado, let's welcome Charlotte Stubbs to the Beyond Bloated Podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for an awesome intro and for having me on the Beyond Bloated podcast. I just wanted to add, as well as being an IBS specialist, I also work with women for balancing their hormones, because there's so much link between IBS and hormones and the cycles that we have as women. So we'll get into that a little bit later on, but I just wanted to pop that in. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to chat with you about IBS and to help people who experience painful digestion, because despite what mainstream medicine says, IBS, as you know, is not a lifelong sentence of restricted diets, and it doesn't have to mean having a really stressful relationship with food forever. I love this concept that it's becoming more widespread, that it doesn't have to be this specific sentence.
Yes, I love that about you, and that's exactly why I love having you on this podcast today, because we're going to get into all of those details. So if you could please start us off by telling everyone, what is IBS and what kind of symptoms are usually associated with it, and how is that diagnosed, air quotes?
Exactly, diagnosed in air quotes. So IBS, as you mentioned in the intro, is irritable bowel syndrome. I like to see it more as a symptom rather than a syndrome. Its official description is when someone experiences painful digestion and unhealthy bowel movements, but then there are no physical signs of internal inflammation or structural damage to the digestive tract. Basically, what that means in layman term is when your tummy hurts before, during, or after eating, and your poo isn't normal, but that there's no other medical reason for the symptoms that they can be linked to, which is kind of a wishy-washy diagnosis, which is why it's more helpful to see it as a set of symptoms. Symptoms are our body's way of telling us that there's imbalances or that there are other issues going on. So the diagnosis of IBS can, instead of feeling like a life sentence of restriction and structure, it can be used to point us in the direction of working out what the root cause of the digestive issue is.
Right. Okay, so IBS is kind of like your stomach hurts after eating, bloating, your bowel movements are off, and you go to the doctor and you're like, hey, something's wrong. And they are like, no, your tests are fine. So you have IBS. That was my experience anyway. And I know it's a lot of other women's experiences. So do you have a personal journey with IBS, or what led you to specialize in this field?
Yes, I have personal experience with IBS. As you're saying, you can go to the doctor and they can tell you, oh, you've got IBS, and then you have this diet, which can feel, kind of restricting. However, for me, in my personal experience, I was relieved to hear that, because by the time I got to the doctor, I'd had digestive problems for months, maybe up to a year, but I was really, really sick. I only had about 10 foods on my safe food list.
Oh, no.
So my work was affected, my social life was affected, my relationships were affected. I was awful to be around because all I thought about was my food, my problems. I was constantly tired. I was malnourished. It wasn't a good place to be. When the doctor referred me to the dietitian said, hey, you've got IBS. Your stomach is basically having trouble digesting specific sugars. Here's a list of safe foods, which is the FODMAP diet. Eat anything on this and you will find your symptoms reduce. They also suggested seeing a hypnotherapist to help my mind catch up with the new information. So my subconscious was still, okay, all these foods are really scary and they give me a bad response. And I wanted to help my subconscious catch up with the new information that not actually all this food, it's more of a psychosomatic illness condition that I have been instructing my body to react badly with food. So once I had that structure of the FODMAP diet, I started to feel relief and I could enjoy lots of different foods again. However, once I realized that, okay, I'd made myself really sick with my thoughts, I wonder if I can undo all of the IBS. I wonder if I can reintroduce all of the foods again in my life. And I did manage to do that. Now I don't have any intolerances. It's been over 11 years since I had the initial diagnosis. And I have traveled around the world eating pasta and all of the amazing cuisines that you can't experience if you're having IBS problems. And that's what led to be doing what I'm doing, to specialize in this area. I know that for some people it's beneficial for them not to reintroduce gluten and lactose and things like that. I know for yourself, you find it still gives you a negative impact, doesn't it?
I actually haven't really tested that theory. I've been gluten and dairy free for almost 6 years now. And I actually just recently have started introducing a little bit of dairy. Like I've been eating ghee, and I've been eating, like, if I go out to a restaurant and, for example, I just got like gluten-free waffles, but they were like, oh, they have butter in them. And I was like, YOLO, I'm gonna eat it. So I did, and I was completely fine. And I've had like some chocolate that has like organic milk powder in it, things like that. And I've been okay. I haven't like fully tested the waters, like I haven't eaten cheese, and I haven't touched gluten. I don't know if I ever will. I don't know. I feel like I don't miss it. I feel like if I missed it, I would want to. But at the moment, like I am very happy with the way that I'm eating and I feel good, and it's like I don't miss it. So I don't really feel like changing it, but I think you did a fantastic job at just getting rid of all of those intolerances. That's incredible. And that was just from doing the hypnotherapy?
Yes, the hypnosis showed me that I had the capacity to unlearn certain things that I instructed my body to do. So you can think of it like the food is information for your body, so are your thoughts is information and messages for your body. So I realized I could relearn the way my body will respond to certain foods. I did that through mindfulness activities, exercises, and affirmations, and creating a greater sense of calm within my entire system so that when I was eating, my body had the blood flow and the focus that it needed to properly digest the food. Because a lot of IBS symptoms can be managed through stress management, which I feel like can be a really difficult suggestion, because as soon as you say you can manage this through stress, or if you say, oh, this is a psychosomatic thing, you have exacerbated it yourself, it can make us really defensive, and it can make us shut down, and it can make us protect ourselves even more, which can then exacerbate the symptoms. A tricky one to communicate to people. However, I believe that learning this information is empowering, and it gives us hope to know that there is a sense of control that we have over this. And with the right set of actionable steps, we can start to shift the reaction that our body has from certain foods to be negative into nourishing and positive.
Yes, I love that. That's a great mindset. And you're so right about like trying to tell people, your stress is causing a large portion of your IBS, if not all of it. I was like that case. When I first started seeing a naturopath, I had no knowledge of holistic health. I had a terrible diet. Like, I didn't want to hear that, like, you need to do deep breathing. And I was like, what? I was like, no, that's not the problem. Like, give me a supplement to fix it. I'm not going to deep breathe for 10 minutes. Like, like the mindset of someone who doesn't know anything about holistic health and doesn't want to hear that it's not just what you're eating and the supplements you're taking. It's like a whole body approach. That is really hard to drill into people's heads, because it's just not what we're used to hearing.
Absolutely.
Especially when you go to a doctor and then they hand you medication. So you're kind of expecting the same thing, but the holistic version.
Exactly. It can be challenging to realize that you individually are the one with the answers, and you individually are the one that needs to make the changes. It can't all come from the outside world. It's not all external stimulus that is affecting you, a lot of it comes from the internal world. However, on the flip side, it's also really empowering, because if you feel supported and you find information that resonates with you and it's presented to you in a way that is easily absorbed and digested, as in when the information is explained to you in a way that makes sense to you, you can start making changes and noticing the positive impact that it's having, and it can help you build momentum and confidence in yourself to be able to switch from negative reactions from food into positive and nourishing ones.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like, sadly, a lot of clients that come to me are people who have already tried all the things. They've tried all the strict protocols, the restrictive diets, the take 20 supplements a day, those types of things, and they're not seeing relief. So I find with those people, you can kind of get through them a little better, because it's like, okay, you've done this same thing 3 times this year and you're not getting anywhere. Maybe we should try this other approach. And it's more of like mindfulness, like you said. And then they're more kind of willing to be like, okay, you're right. Like, this isn't working, so I'll try it. Why not? No, that was me. I would try anything. So what are some of your methods when clients come to you with IBS?
As you were saying, the people that see me are usually people who have tried everything. They have tried a lot of different things and they're feeling quite deflated. They usually come to me with a huge amount of stress about having to be super organized about what they're eating. There's a lot of worry about the longevity of the life sentence of having to be so precious about their food intake. They also have a lot of pressure around their food choices. There's so much weight on their shoulders around this relationship with food that is so frequent. We have to eat a number of times a day. It's not just something that you can sort of grunt through in discomfort because it doesn't happen very frequently and you're like, yeah, cool, whatever, I'll just do it this way. It's happened so frequently. It's so important for us for our entire experience of life. The first thing that I work on with people is helping them to identify where the pressure points are. So where are they putting pressure on themselves to be perfect, to make things right, to get things, in the right way? And how can we start to loosen that up? How can we start to change the perspective about it Also, how can we change the physical stress in the body through, as you say, breath work and meditation? So every session that I run includes a meditation. It helps the client and I to connect to the space and to get the most out of our time together. It helps the client to connect to their inner wisdom and work out what is it that their body is really asking for, and how can we make that happen? So some of the ways that we do that is through a lot of questions. Usually when you go to a doctor or a dietitian or even nutritionists, like conventional nutritionists, it's really common for them to sit you down in a really short appointment time, give you black and white information that is just a repeat of what they're saying, of instructions on what to follow. It can leave you feeling really overwhelmed about the life changes that you have to make overnight in order to feel better. Whereas in sessions with me, we start really small, which helps immediately to take the pressure off. Knowing that you don't have to make 100 changes to start feeling better, you just have to make 1 or 2 small changes to start building the momentum and to start shifting things is really helpful. Then that leaves us in a better position to start learning about food. As you're saying, sometimes when we're in that position with that diagnosis, we actually don't know about nutrition. We don't know about how the body works and how the mind is connected, the gut-brain axis, what are all these words? So starting to understand the relationship that you have with food and how that impacts your body and how it impacts your mood and the world around you. And as I mentioned, hormones is a really big one. It's a very large topic, very complicated topic. It's integrated into our everyday life. Our hormones interact with everything in our system, with the air around us and the food that we eat and our thoughts. It's like the post people who are in charge of taking the parcels and delivering them to specific houses. Our hormones have specific roles and they need to go to specific organs and tissues. And when stress is involved and when digestive issues are involved, it mucks up all those messages as well, which can negatively impact our overall experience and our digestion. It's all linked.
It is all linked, and it's actually crazy to think about it because, when you think my stomach hurts, it's my stomach's problem. But as you're saying, it's like, no, it could actually be because your hormones are messed up. Like there's just so many different things that could be going on that there is no magic one solution because there's not one specific trigger that is causing the problem. So on that note, do you find that there are like very common causes of IBS that keep coming up in your practice?
Yes, definitely. There are underlying themes that run across basically all of the people I've helped with this condition. The most common one is your relationship to food and how you think about your food. So it's not just what you're eating, but how you think about what you're eating. For example, I had a client who comes from a Persian background, and in their culture, it is known that there are certain foods you eat together and certain foods that you avoid to have together, which is perfectly healthy in its own right. However, with this particular person, the stories had gotten a little bit mucked up in her mind, and she had created these strict rules around what should be eaten together. And if you don't eat, it's going to have a negative impact. What that did was send instructions to her body to react negatively to those foods when she ingested them, even though they are safe and healthy foods. With that, we started to break down the story that she had around it and the stresses that she had around it and where the pressure was coming from. And once you become aware, the first step is becoming aware of where the pressure is coming from. Then you can start to acknowledge and accept, okay, yep, that's where the pressure is coming from. Does that fit with my current knowledge and the new knowledge that is being shared about nutrition? If you decide, no, that belief doesn't suit me anymore, I'd like to change it, you can choose again. So it's through repetition of becoming aware, acknowledging where you're at, and then choosing a new thought to reprogram and rewire your brain around how you experience.
That's very cool that you can just train your brain. I guess it's like a worry thing too, right? It's like stress. It's very stress related, it sounds like. Like when people have these food sensitivities that develop out of nowhere, it happened to me. I was then just constantly stressed about eating in general because I didn't know what was going to cause me to have a symptom. I didn't want it to happen when I was out. So it's like, oh, do I eat when I'm out? Do I eat before? What do I eat? when do I eat? And then you're just literally in a constant state of stress. And we underestimate so heavily how stress impacts our digestion. Like, I am telling you that you cannot digest a single thing if you are chronically stressed. I have a client as well who she's very stressed out because she's having so many bowel issues, and she's just eating chicken and rice pretty much every day, and it's still causing the problem. And I'm like, it's not what you're eating, girl. It's not what you're eating. It's your mind. You are so stressed and like freaked out about, oh my God, I can't eat this at work because I'm going to shit my pants. And it's like, you're going to now because that's what's in your head and you have freaked yourself out about it. And now it's going to happen. As you said, like, I guess I would never thought about it the way you just explained it, which is a very cool way to lay it out. But like, I'm working with this client and I'm helping her with stress management techniques. So also, like, deep breathing before we eat, and like eat in a calm place. Don't eat in your break room if that's going to stress you out, like go somewhere calm and peaceful where you can actually enjoy your meal. So yes, I totally agree with you that stress, or the way we think about our food, is probably the main contributor of IBS, or at least it's a huge portion of it. What would you tell listeners who are struggling with IBS and want to start finding their root cause, which we've kind of just laid out for them, or like what kind of steps they should start taking at the very beginning of their journey?
Like you just said, thinking about the things that we've talked about in this episode, reflect on what resonates for you with what we've talked about. We have gone over a lot of information, which can feel really overwhelming. Don't worry about the whole picture. Just think about the little things that feel achievable for you. Get quiet with yourself. Remember that you hold all the answers to your health and wellness. It is within you. You have the answers. Nobody knows you more than you know yourself. Get to know yourself more. When you use breath work and meditation, sometimes a lot of clients will say, oh, I've never done meditation, or I'm not good at meditation. It's not for me. That's probably because you have this idea of meditation that it has to be a certain way. If you can think about meditation as choosing what you focus on, that's it. Noticing what happens when you focus on one particular thing. For some people, you need to have two things that you're focusing on at the same time. I know for me, I can think about two things at the same time. So I choose to think of my breath. I focus on what's going on in my body, as well as noticing the thoughts that are going on. So that's the two activities that I have. Get yourself onto a meditation app, or find someone on YouTube that you really enjoy. That will help you to be guided in the process. So you don't have to get it right. There's no bad meditation. It's really important. There's no bad meditation. If you're spending time with yourself, that is beneficial, no matter what the outcome is. Listening to the wisdom of your body and honoring the intelligence of your body, seeing symptoms as symbols. So what is your body telling you? A lot of the time with digestive issues, it is tied up with the way we process emotions. So, for example, if you are always constipated, it can symbolize that you have a fear of letting go. So your body is holding on to things. It's holding on to your waste products, which is not what you want. And on the contrary, if you're someone who experiences a lot of diarrhea, it can indicate that you have an issue with holding on to and processing your emotions. If you're someone that just wants to not think about it and just let it all go without actually working out what it means. They are some of the things that can steer you in the direction. Looking at your symptoms as instructions for you. What does it mean, but not in a really deep, dark and serious way? A lot of the time the answers are really simple, but we think that simple is not helpful. It's like, how is breathing going to help me? It's not strong enough, but it's the subtle things that are going to be most beneficial to you. That would be my first actionable step for you to take, is to get quiet and listen to what your body is telling you.
Yes, that is great advice. And as you said, a lot of people think of meditation as like the typical, Om meditation where you have to sit there for 5 minutes with your legs crossed and meditate and hope you get off the ground, like the cartoon of meditation. But it's like, that's not what meditation has to be. For me, like, I live in BC, there's a lot of nature around. I will literally go for a walk in nature, and I won't bring like my phone or anything with me. I'll just walk outside and check out the trees and just think to myself. And that is a very calming thing for me. Like, I'll do that after work, after I've had, a day. And it's like, I just need to calm myself. And I come back feeling better. Like I just mentally feel so much better. Meditation does not have to be the stereotypical meditation. It can be, as you said, whatever you want it to be, whatever you're going to find a calm state in. Do that as meditation. It counts. So before we go, I would love for you to share where everyone can find you, connect with you, and if you have any upcoming services or events so people can work with you. Let's hear it.
I'm Holistic Wellness with Charlotte on Instagram, all one word, no dots. And my website is holisticwellnesswithcharlotte.com. Please feel free to get in touch. If you have any questions about anything that was covered in today's podcast that was explained by me, there are lots of things, as I said, that we talked about. So just finding the things that resonated with you. And for those who have listened to the pod today, I have a special discount code for their initial consult. So you can use the code HolisticPod15 for 15% off your first session with me. The offer is valid for 2 weeks after the release date of this pod. So check that out. You can book on my website or send me a DM if you prefer to talk to a real person for that sort of thing.
Awesome. Wow, what a surprise. I didn't know that was happening. Okay, well, that's super great to hear. I will link all of that information in the show notes so you're able to find Charlotte, use the discount, and work with her. She is a very smart lady and she has real life experience, which I love. I've mentioned this many times and I will keep saying it. I personally seek out help from people who have been in my shoes. I want someone who has dealt with IBS to help me with my IBS. She has been symptom-free for 11 years. That's the kind of woman you want on your side. So please check her out. As I said, everything is linked. Thank you so much for being here, Charlotte. I had an awesome time chatting with you today.
Thank you, Carly. So did I. I am so grateful for this space to be able to talk openly about these concepts and strategies to help people suffering with IBS and just to keep getting it out there. It doesn't have to be a lifelong sentence. And I hope that anyone out there can at least take one little thing to run with today and continue on the journey.
You have provided tons of information today, so I'm sure you have helped at least one person. So thank you again, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond Bloated podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe and leave a review. And don't forget to share this podcast with your fellow gut goddesses. If you'd like to chat about today's episode, send me a DM on Instagram at beyond.bloated. Until next time, bye!